Welcome back to episode 2, part 2. Today I'll be looking at some research that I found that can be paired with episode 2 to just kind of shed some light on how pet owner experiences are not one-dimensional, but a lot is going on. So we'll look at the many factors involved, the study that was done, and hopefully this can help shed some light on some of the experiences people have despite their attachment styles. But I think this was a really rich piece of research. First, I want to start off with the title. You can locate this article, Pet and Owner Personality and Mental Well-Being Associate with Attachment to Cats and Dogs. It is published in iScience in 2023 by Stahl et al. I want to start off with the PICOs. So what are PICOs for those of us who are not really into research? So it's a tool that researchers use to structure the research and also help them organize the research questions that they'll be examining. Typically, PICOs are used in clinical and health research. So this particular article is geared toward mental well-being, which is psychologically focused. So the P stands for population. So this study included 2,724 Finnish pet owners. Of that number, 92% were women. The intervention and exposure. The owner characteristics that were examined were personality trait and mental well-being. Now, in the pets, what was examined was personality traits and unwanted behavior. I think I really went in depth about some of the unwanted, or the authors looked at pet owner relationship attachment style and how those may be related to pet owner and pet psychological well-being and quality of life. The Big Five model is also known as the ocean model in psychology. So what it does is it provides us with 5 broad ways to understand how people think, feel, and behave, how they tend to do those things. The O in ocean is for openness to experience. This is going to be really important as we look at the results of this study. And I'm going to come back to the Big Five one more time just to put it all together for you, because when we get to the results section, it's going to really make sense. The more familiar we are with the Big Five, the more it's going to really make sense. So the O for openness to experience. The owners who have openness to experience, it shows how curious and imaginative they are. If they have high openness, it means they're more likely to be creative, curious, open-minded. They might enjoy new ideas. They might like art and adventure. In no way is it limited just to these things, but this just gives us a broad idea about what this means. So the O, like trying new things. Just think open-minded. When we go to the C in ocean, conscientiousness, it means how organized and responsible you are. High conscientiousness means you're disciplined, reliable, goal-oriented, and you like to plan ahead. Lower conscientiousness means you're spontaneous, messy, you procrastinate, and you are less structured. So the question we could ask for this trait would be, am I organized, dependable, or go with the flow? The E in ocean, extroversion. How social and outgoing you are. High extroversion means you tend to be more talkative, energetic, enjoy being around other people, and you might be more assertive. Low extroversion, which is introversion. You might tend to be quiet, reserved, enjoy more alone time, and you might be more reflective. So the question here is, do I gain energy from people or do I gain it from being alone? Agreeableness is how cooperative and compassionate you are. High agreeableness means you tend to be kind, empathetic, trusting, and helpful. Low agreeableness, you might tend to be more competitive, blunt, skeptical, and more self focused. The question you might want to ask is, do I prioritize getting along with others or being direct and critical? So I'm still on ocean. I got a little bit ahead of myself. So the A in ocean. And let's go to N for neuroticism. How emotionally sensitive or reactive you are. High neuroticism means you tend to be more anxious, moody, easily stressed, or emotionally reactive. Low neuroticism, you might be calm, stable, handle stress well, and less reactive. You could ask yourself, how easily do I get stressed or upset? Okay, so now we're ready for some of the results. The authors found that high neuroticism and low conscientiousness was linked to attachment anxiety in adult relationships. So, with that said, remember high neuroticism means anxious, moody, easily stressed, and emotionally reactive. Paired with low conscientiousness, more spontaneous, messy, procrastinate, and less structured. They also found that lower extroversion plus lower openness was linked to pet attachment insecurity. So let's revisit that for a moment. Low extroversion, that means you are quiet, reserved, enjoy alone time, and you're reflective. So this is a more of an introverted person, along with low openness, which means you're more of a creative type, you're curious, you're open minded, and you enjoy new ideas like art and adventure. So those two qualities together would be linked to pet attachment insecurity. Lower extroversion and lower conscientiousness was linked to avoidant attachment. So we're here with the owner right now. Lower extroversion means the person is less social, quiet, reserved, and more reflective, and low conscientiousness, which means that's where we go back to the spontaneity, messy, procrastinates, and prefers less structure. What factors were associated with attachment avoidance? So this is where we go back to the regular theme of attachment avoidance. More avoidantly attached dog owners had lower scores in agreeableness, neuroticism, and extroversion, and lower scores in total well being. Higher attachment avoidance scores were associated with lower scores in human sociability, and higher scores in impulsivity and inattention were linked to more aggression in dogs. Dog owners with children scored higher on attachment avoidance than those without children, as did owners who were not female. So remember, 92% of the population in this study comprised of females. That was the only key similarity, actually, in this part. In contrast, owners of cats with lower scores in human sociability had higher scores in avoidant attachment. What other factors were associated with attachment anxiety? So remember, what we just covered was attachment avoidance. So now we're going to attachment anxiety. Dog owners with higher scores in neuroticism and lower scores in total well being had higher scores in anxious attachment. High scores in fear related behaviors of the dogs was associated with higher attachment anxiety of the owners. Dog owners with children had lower scores in anxious attachment compared to those without children. High neuroticism, low conscientiousness, low extroversion, and low openness was linked to pet attachment security. It also had a heavy impact on the quality of the relationship and the owner's amount of affection toward the pet. The quality of the human pet attachment impacted the lives of both the pets and the owners. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a one direction thing. Our attachment styles directly impact the pet, and the pet directly impacts the owner. So, this study was a cross species examination of how individual traits from both sides of the relationship are associated with human pet attachment insecurity. Associations of owner, dog, and cat personality traits directly contributed to unwanted behavior of pets with owner attachment anxiety and avoidance. Now, let's take a look at cat owners. So, this is just for cat owners. Cat owners with higher scores in neuroticism and conscientiousness and lower scores in total well being had higher scores in anxious attachment. So, if you need to revisit the big five, do so. I think it's worth taking a careful look at. Cat owners with more active or playful cats also had higher scores in anxious attachment. Cat owners with children had lower scores in anxious attachment than those without children. Now, this part goes back to it's a mixture, okay? So, a pet's tendency to seek closeness and interaction was associated with a similar tendency in owners. What this means is if you, as the owner, are more likely to seek closeness to others and more interaction with others, your pet would exhibit similar tendencies. What the authors found was this could help us explain how cat owners tend to have greater avoidant attachment. So remember when I said it's not just how we behave, but also how the pet behaves? And we know the stereotype of cats being more isolative, less clingy, those types of things. So what the authors are saying is it could explain why cat owners tend to be more avoidantly attached. They also found that human pet attachment may benefit from higher sociability of the pet. Less avoidantly attached owners assess their pets as more social, and they tended to select pets that are more social or behave in a way that affects the pet's sociability. Activity and playfulness in cats was associated with higher attachment anxiety in pet owners. High activity levels of cats could elicit feelings of inadequacy in owners if the cats didn't seem content, despite extensive environmental enrichment. So, what this means is the owners of cats would do all they could do to make to make the cat's environment more stimulating and attractive. But after doing so, if the cat still showed high activity and characteristics of not being content, it caused more anxiety in the cat owners. Sort of like, I've done all I can to make you satisfied and I still can't do it. And then at that point, the owners would experience anxiety. Okay. Yes. So fearfulness of dogs could evoke worry for the dog's well being in dog owners, leading to owner anxious attachment. Can't you see how this is cyclical? So the dog is fearful, the owner becomes worried, negative impact on dog's well being. In turn, the owner shows anxious attachment. then the dog has anxious behavior. One thing to keep in mind, a lot goes into this. So its environment is genetics on both ends. So the genetics and environment of the owner, the genetics and environment of the pet. Okay, we are bringing this to a close. Unwanted behavior of dogs was associated with attachment insecurity, as well as dog aggression. So, again, unwanted dog behavior plus attachment insecurity and aggression was linked to avoidant attachment in the owner. The more avoidantly attached the owner may be, provided enough security in threatening situations that provoked fear and aggressive behavior in dogs, as well as impulsivity. The impulsivity that they found was described as ADHD like characteristics in dogs, which was linked to higher avoidant attachment. Okay. Now, to sum everything up, um, if owners had poor mental well being and high neuroticism, they tended to be more anxiously attached. When pets had unwanted behavior and low sociability, there was a greater association with avoidant attachment in the owner. So, what the study really examined was different attachment styles paired with variations in pet personality behavior. What I hope this commentary has done was to help us, despite our personality and attachment styles. I hope that this study helped shed some light on how our behavior contributes to pet behavior and vice versa. And I think it has really helped me sit down and take a look at what I can do better, how I can help enhance my own well being and my pet's well being, and gain a greater understanding of what I experience with them on a daily basis. Although my female dog is very cooperative, easygoing, easy to manage, my boy dog gives me the greatest challenge, but it's okay. I think it's good for me to get in touch with myself, my attributes, my attachment, challenges, and benefits, and look at how ways that we can just continue to live a whole and healthy life together. As I mentioned in part one, I said, oh, they've been with me forever. My female dog has been with me for 14 years, and my boy dog has been with me for 15 years. So that's quite a bit of time. Over the past 2 years, I have to say I've seen an increase in different unwanted behaviors. And I think that's a great opportunity for me to take this research, look at other studies, and just gain a greater perspective on what the key factors are and the key contributors are, and try to see where improvement can be made and where to go from here. I do hope that I've made this very vast amount of research clear for you. And I hope that maybe some of you who are practicing for your licensure exam can take some of this information and use it in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. And some of you who may not be very much into research, I hope this can help just give you some insight on human to animal behavior and relationships. Thank you once again for joining me. I will have some more exciting topics to share with you, all related to avoidant attachment and attachment styles in general. And thank you so much.